This podcast contains themes of domestic abuse, coercive control, xenophobia, and misuse of mental health systems. Listener discretion advised. Names and details have been changed for privacy. You're listening to 300 Steps to Freedom, a story of rebuilding a life across cultures, where truth can feel like invention. Here, fact and fiction travel side by side. Where does one end and the other begin? You decide. Episode 1. Trapped between closing walls of betrayal. In the game of power, once you've played your highest card, there is no retrieving it from the table. Your opponent now sees your hand, your strategy, and the depths to which you are willing to sink. Have you ever noticed how those who claim to protect you are often the first to set the trap? Sirens faint in the distance. At first, I don't give it much thought. I assume it's someone else's emergency. I glance at my watch, 20 minutes until Alessia's piano lesson ends. There's something strange about the office today. Too tidy, too silent, like the room is holding its breath. The sirens grow nearer. Out of curiosity, I step to the window, just in time to see one police car turn into the law firm's compound, then another, blue light strobing across the glass. An ambulance glides in behind them. At the gate, voices ricochet off stone, distant shouting, "Polizia, aprite il cancello, lasciateci passare." What the hell, I think. I look over to the receptionist, Serena, the boss's girlfriend, with inquisitive eyes and a questioning gesture. She looks up at me and freezes. To calm my nerves, I tip my chin toward the parking lot and crack a joke I don't feel.
What have you people done this time?
I force a smile. She returns a smile that never reaches her eyes. She presses the buttons on her remote more than once before she manages to open the gate and the main door. It strikes me as odd. It's one of her routine duties. I don't have time to dwell on it before the doors burst open and all hell breaks loose. 2 policemen push through the glass doors. A woman in a charcoal suit follows, posture like a blade. Behind her, 2 men in white move as one body, doctors or nurses, judging by the hospital-like containers they clutch. The woman walks straight to me, her eyes never leaving mine. I stare back as if in a trance.
"Are you Irene Kamuzungu?"
She asks firm.
Yes, I am.
I hear myself say in a frail voice I barely recognize. I try to steady myself as the room spins. God, make it stop. Make it stop. I pray silently. In this family, belief in God is treated as a symptom of mental illness. The room steadies as suddenly as it had started. It dawns on me. My husband has actually carried out what I thought was just one of his tantrums. Any thought of escape dies as my glance toward the main door meets the iron gaze of 2 unusually tall guards, taller than most men in this country. I turn to Serena, hoping for an explanation, but her gaze slides past mine and lands nowhere. The woman steps aside, raises her hand, snaps her fingers, and points at me. The men in white step forward and seize me. Each takes a wrist, not violent, not gentle, practiced, final. Gianluca, the boss, my brother-in-law, owner of the firm, waltzes into the room holding my son Elijah, pretending to dance with him as he tries to distract the 18-month-old from the chaos and from seeing his mother held by the men in white. I search his eyes, trying to connect. He must know the answers. What's going on? Did Stefano, my husband, pick up Alessia from her piano lesson? Surely he'll explain the misunderstanding, call off the performance, send everyone home. He couldn't be part of this. Could he? Could he have believed his problematic brother Stefano without arranging a calm discussion about our marital disputes? He avoids my gaze. Unusually calm, unhurried, unsurprised, he moves to the door, places Elijah in Serena's arms with a tenderness that lands like ice, and she takes him without a word.
Gianluca!
I try to shout. What escapes is a thread of air.
Gianluca, what's going on?
He doesn't answer. He looks at the woman in the suit as if they had a prior arrangement. She asks which room she can use for the evaluation, each syllable clipped and clinical, as if choosing a space for coffee. The men in white adjust their grip, gentle enough not to bruise, firm enough to teach my bones a new obedience. The policemen step aside just enough to let the procession form toward the conference room on the second floor. Familiar and suddenly foreign, like a face you trust until it starts reciting someone else's lies. She chooses the stairs. The lift would groan under all of us. 100 yesterday friendships watch me pass by. Staff, clerks, paralegals, lawyers, eyes turned to stone. Not a single voice rises. Not one. I have always been the calm, gentle outsider, the motherly figure with the lists, the calendar, the snacks in the bag, the tissues in the pocket. I swallow the urge to fight. My son is watching. I promise I won't make a scene. It might trigger the wrath of those gentle beasts in white. I try to will myself invisible. It doesn't work. At the head of the procession is the woman in the suit, followed by the death row criminal, me, and the men in white, our bodies almost fused by now, then Gianluca. We enter the conference room in that order. The lights hum and the smell of coffee mocks me with its warmth. The door clicks shut, the kind of soft sound that can split a life clean in two. The rest of the procession stays outside, law enforcement officers near the door, cuffs in hand, followed by the curious crowd. The woman opens a folder.
I'm Dr. Janina Mazzini from the local mental hospital.
She doesn't smile. She doesn't need to. Confirmation. This was planned. Stefano had gone ahead with the threat I thought was just a tantrum. He had called in a storm and told it my name. The sirens have stopped, but I can still hear them. In the walls, in the eyes that won't meet mine, in the way two men hold my arms as if kindness and force are the same thing. It had all started a few hours earlier. Serena had called me while I was running errands around town with Elijah. She needed an urgent translation for a client. Nothing unusual. I often did external consulting for Gianluca's law firm. I rushed over. Gianluca offered to take Elijah for a walk on the grounds while Serena prepared the documents. Nearly an hour passed, Serena bouncing between urgent calls and meetings, while I sat beneath framed degrees and stale art, pretending law journals could quiet my pulse. My restlessness sharpened into something with teeth.
Serena, I should go.
I said, irritation creeping in.
I need to pick up Alessia.
Her answer sliced cleanly.
No need. I've asked Stefano to pick her up.
Another odd piece slid across the board. I opened my mouth to object. Sirens tilt closer, threading through the double-glazed windows. This is how it begins, not with a scream, but with a whisper you have to lean in to hear, not with a door slamming, but with a soft click that sounds exactly like a promise breaking. And if you want to know why those sirens came for me, why the people who should have protected me became the ones to tighten the net, you'll have to follow me into that room. That's where the game was supposed to end. Little did I know it was only the beginning of my war, a war that would last many years to come. Reflection. What stays with me from this moment is how quickly the ordinary can split in two. 1 second, I'm counting minutes to a piano lesson. The next, the building has new rules I never agreed to. The sirens weren't loudest in the street, they were loudest inside me. The soft click of the conference room door felt louder than the arrival of the police. That click said, the version of your life where people give you the benefit of the doubt is over. I remember the smell of coffee, pretending everything was normal, the framed degrees nodding along to a story they didn't witness, the way familiar faces turned into furniture to avoid seeing me. Betrayal doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just keeps eye contact and asks your name. In that moment, I understood that power doesn't need to shout when institutions are already trained to listen to it. What changed after this moment was my job description, internally. I stopped trying to be the most reasonable person in the room and started being the most prepared. My definition of calm changed from smile and accommodate to breathe, anchor, and document. I shifted from asking, how can I make this easier for everyone, to how do I make this safe for my children and true to the facts? Trust also changed shape. Yesterday friendships became today's spectators. It hurt, but it taught me a clean lesson. Not everyone silent is against you, but not everyone silent is for you. Some people are just waiting to see which way the wind blows. I tightened my circle. I started writing everything down. Times, names, exact phrases. I learned that the first story, written after an incident, often becomes the official one. If you don't write yours, someone else will write you into theirs. Another thing that changed was my relationship with fear. Before that day, fear made me smaller. After that day, fear became a task list. I learned to assign fear a chair and give it a pen. You're worried? Good. What needs to be gathered? Which questions must be asked? What do we refuse to sign without clarity? That's when the seed of World Without Walls really took root, not as a business idea, but as a survival instinct. If systems can be weaponized, then knowledge must be communal. What I wish I'd known, what I wish I had in my pocket that day, are simple sentences that buy time, create a record, and remind everyone there that I understand the ground I'm standing on. These are not legal instructions. They're phrases I wish I could have reached for when my voice felt borrowed. Am I being detained, or am I free to leave? Is this evaluation voluntary or involuntary? On what legal basis? Before we proceed, I request a support person and, if needed, an interpreter. Please state the specific concerns and criteria you're assessing today. I will not consent to medication or transport without clear explanation and documentation. I need time to read this before signing. I will sign when I understand it. Please note, I am calm and cooperative, and I dispute the characterization that I'm a danger. Could I have your names and badge numbers? I'd like them included in the report. I'd like a copy of any report or notes generated today. I also wish I'd had a small plan for the moments before the door closed, a code word to text a trusted person that means, come now, stay on the phone, record details. A notebook always in my bag with a pen that works. A single folder at home with copies of IDs, children's documents, key contacts shared securely with one person who will pick up at the first ring. A phrase for my child like, Mummy's okay, count 5 blue things, so they have a job instead of a memory they can't carry. And for my body, I wish I'd known these anchors. Plant both feet flat and feel the floor. Drop your shoulders 3 times. Unclench the jaw by touching the tongue to the roof of your mouth. Speak in short, factual sentences on the out-breath. The truth lands better when you give it a steady chair to sit on. Most of all, I wish I'd known that composure is not compliance. You can be calm and still insist on clarity. You can be respectful and still require boundaries. You can cooperate with the process and still refuse its distortions. The loudest thing in that room wasn't the sirens, it was the decision I made in silence. I will not vanish inside someone else's story. I will stand here, name what is happening, and live to tell it back to you. If this resonated, subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Share this episode with one person who might need strength tonight. In the comments, leave one word for how this episode made you feel, or one tactic you use to steady yourself when systems feel bigger than you. Next episode, the ambush begins. We step into the evaluation. Who called it, the script they expect me to follow, and the first crack in their plan. Credits written and read by Alice. World Without Walls, a bridge from story to community building. Names and details have been changed for privacy. For resources, see the episode description. Thanks for listening and see you in episode 2.